hello. Hello, hello. Hi guys. It's Baby Simple here, and I'm back with a true crime inspired video. My microphone is like right at my eye level. I kind of I put together a desk for my studio so I don't have to use serial murders. So, like, small towns are still a thing, but a lot of people, like myself, move to urban environments, and a lot of people do that by themselves. So, like, when I was in college, I moved to Boston basically by myself, and if I had gone missing, nobody would have known for like 5 days until my mom was like, why haven't I heard from her? So I can totally understand why that would be a reason for more serial killers in modern times. Number two, our society is now more celebrity oriented, making being a serial killer something that someone might aspire to for the fame and recognition. Like, for example, a lot of victims are forgotten. Like, I couldn't name a victim off the top of my head, but I could name serial killers. So, or they're also given like nicknames like the Night Stalker, or the Green River Killer, or the West Mesa Bone Collector, or Jack the Ripper. So this like celebrity-oriented society, they're saying, makes it more likely for serial killers to emerge. They also point to the marginalization and belittlement of many categories of people by society. So they talk about how society looks down on the homeless population, or looks down on sex workers, looks down on poor people, making them less human, and possibly making serial killers more likely to target those people because they seem less than, or they're less human and more vulnerable. So I also read a report by the FBI in the United States, and they define serial killing as a series of 3 or more killings, not less than one of which was committed within the United States, having common characteristics such as to suggest the reasonable possibility that the crimes were committed by the same actor or actors. So are some reminders of what a psychopath is. Some traits are smooth talking or glibness, superficial charm, a grand sense of self-worth, pathological lying, and easy manipulation of others, lack of remorse or guilt, a lack of empathy, a failure to accept responsibility, because of this, many times they isolate themselves and avoid relationships with people that they desire. And this may evolve into wanting to completely eliminate people that they desire by actually killing them, so they're unable to be rejected or feel that rejection. Reed is trying to understand how serial killers evolve over time, from their birth to their arrests. She found that these behaviors could present in children as young as 7, but many times these kind of disturbing fantasies don't solidify until between the ages of 11 and 13. In another article that I read, it was an interview with The Guardian. An author, historian, and journalist named Peter Bronsky discusses his findings and research regarding what makes a serial killer. His argument is a little different from anything I've discussed here so far. He believes that the ability and capacity to kill and murder is within all of us as a survival mechanism, which has been passed down from our ancestors. But he believes that people who are serial killers are not able to moderate that part of their brains for one reason or another. He believes instead of the serial killer being made, that all of us who are not serial killers are unmade through good parenting and socialization, and that serial killers are stunted mostly through childhood trauma. So he's kind of looking at it in a different way, that possibly we're all born with the ability and capacity to kill, but most of us have adjusted to society over time through being nurtured, taken good care of as kids. But he's saying that serial killers didn't have that, therefore are more likely to be violent and to kill. He also makes a point to say that serial killers are responsible for their actions and are not able to claim insanity as a defense, because as we talked about before, they have the choice of acting upon their impulses, which is proven by the way that they act at crime scenes. They often